Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Good morning, San Antonio. How are you? Hard Rock Cafe on the Riverwalk. It's nice and muggy. I'm going to go ahead and say it's about 85 degrees. A little warmer with all the folks out here. You think it's 85?
Ain't got nothing to do with how it's going to be in about an hour.
I know. Worse. Right. Let me tell you something, but it's okay. We're here to brave through it. I need you to welcome your mayor, Skip Bayless, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to your head, you know that.
No, it will not.
I fear
because
it may.
It's going to go to my stomach when I have to go to Miami tomorrow. Right? I want to thank everyone for coming out after a tough night last night here in San Antonio, and allow me to apologize publicly to my Ernestine because I got a little over-emotional after the game last night, as I get.
Shocking.
And over the phone, I might have taken it out on her just a little bit. I'm sorry, Ernestine.
You hurt the ones you love. Ernestine, we're sorry. And excuse me, Mayor. Can I take a moment with the perfect politician hand wave? And welcome the other mayor of South Beach, Stephen A. Smith. Give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen.
By the way, it really is, even though you apologize and I understand that, it's quite pathetic that you would get on your woman when you knew, I guess you knew about the beat down that was coming today, so you took it out on her.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah.
My Spurs let me down. Let's talk
about it.
Let's
talk about it. But first, let's tell you who's coming up on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. You guys know him. He brought you one chip. Sean Elliott. Give it up for him. He'll be on the show. NBA veteran Damon Jones, a really good friend of the show, a good friend of LeBron James. He will also be on the show. He said on Twitter he specifically has an issue with you talking about the Cavs role players.
Damon Jones has always had an issue with me because that's my man. We go back a long way. But I've always been getting on him about that stuff. So he's just using the national TV platform to try and get on me. It won't work.
It won't work.
But he can try.
All right. And last but not least, our Brian Windhorst, ladies. Give it up for him. He will be here. He has some very compelling comments on LeBron.
He knows everything about LeBron James.
So says LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James even said it. But let's talk about last night, shall we? He tied the series 1-1, Skip Bayless. The Heat were playing very well. LeBron James specifically, he had 35 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, while the Spurs as a team, 12 of 20 from the free throw line, and losing the game by just 2 points.
After the flagrant and you went to the line, how much physically were you in pain, or did that affect those 2 missed free throws?
Yeah, it definitely affected me, but I'm a little bit frustrated. Should have made them.
Mayor, what happened to your Spurs? What happened to your Spurs?
Stephen A. Smith, I believe my San Antonio Spurs lost that game more than the Miami Heat won that game. And even though much will be made today about how King James bounced back from his cramp game and he took it out on all of his cryptics and skeptics and hecklers with 35 take that points. and by the way, I must give it up to LeBron. I thought he was sensational last night, especially when he caught, for him, a rare, crazy hot streak from the outside in the third quarter. But despite all that, my Spurs had multiple chances over the last 7 minutes of that game to seize control. And they played, as I often say, with not enough urgency, with a little too much tentative, indecisive offense. But let's start with the missed free throws.
Oh, boy.
6:43 to go in that game. We just saw Tony Parker talk about getting fouled. I don't care if he's hurt or not. He steps to the line, followed by the other best player on the team, Tim Duncan. And they don't just miss 4 straight free throws. They don't even give any of those 4 free throws a chance. They all hit the front of the rim. And I believe it took some life, some heart out of that team down the stretch. But despite those 4 free throws that could have put them up 5 points, at that point with 6:43 to go, all the way down to under 2 minutes to go, the Spurs still had a 1-point lead and the basketball. And what happened again and again over the final 4 or 5 minutes? Empty trip after empty trip. Too much of my pet peeve, Tony Parker, dribble, 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 dribble. Not enough Ginobili until the end of the shot clock when he had to force up some prayers that were not answered last night. What have I made the case for all year long? When it's closing time, when it was in Oklahoma City in Game 6, when Tony Parker couldn't go in the second half, the closer on this team is Manu Ginobili. I like this team much better with Manu running the point down the stretch. When he and Tony are in the game, he defers to Tony Parker last night to a fault. And I thought they got stale. I thought they got what Coach Popovich calls stuck in mud. And as Pop said after the game, if we don't share the ball and move it quickly, we die. And they died last night, late in that game. And as Tony Parker summed it up late, we wasted a great opportunity because they had multiple chances to win Game 2 at home. Floor is yours.
Very interesting, that nice little soliloquy you threw out there. I'm very, very touched. I really am. I just want to remind you, however, that the Spurs did get outscored in the paint by 44-34, and they got limited to just 9 fast break points. So what does that tell you? Number one, it tells you that their big dudes were neutralized because over the last 3 quarters, Tim Duncan shot 2 of 8 from the field. And it also tells you that they weren't creating any fast break opportunities. And when you look at a guy like Danny Green, for example, forget the fact that he hit 3 of his 5 shots. Remember instead that he attempted just 5 shots, which brings me back to the point that I wanted to make initially, which was this. I told you in Game 1, when everybody sat out here and getting on LeBron James, I said, excuse me, he happens to be the greatest player in the world, and the cramps ultimately taking him out of those last 7 minutes as far as I'm concerned. I don't care that he came back and then ultimately asked out with 3 minutes left. He was pretty much out for the last 7 minutes of the game. I said to you, if he is the greatest player in the world, but he cannot go for you for the last 7 minutes of Game 1 of an NBA Finals, that is going to have a profound impact. Well, who was in the game last night? I'm sorry, what's his name?
LeBron.
I think it's LeBron.
It's LeBron.
The number was 35-10. The third quarter, when he scored about 8 straight points in about 51 seconds, when he scored 9 of the 13 points, when he put on a display and just had Popovich say, call it timeout, DL, you get him, Kawhi Leonard, can you do something for me? Couldn't figure it out. I'm just saying, the man happens to be the greatest player in the world. And I tried to tell you. And Popovich said it. I love how you threw out that quote, if we don't share the basketball. Yeah, you threw that out. But you left out the part that Popovich said before that statement, which was this. They got a guy that you could just give the ball to. I'm paraphrasing here. But he said they got a guy that you could just give the ball to and take us there. We don't have that guy. That's what he said. Then he said, yes, we have to share the basketball. That's why he's saying it, because they don't have LeBron. And that's what this comes down to. So as you go off and you talk about how the Spurs lost this game more than Miami won this game, in the end, what it comes down to is that you can discount 35-10 if you want to. You can discount the fact that LeBron James committed 4 turnovers in the first quarter and not a single turnover for the rest of the game. You can throw all of that out the window if you want to, but I choose not to. This series is tied 1-1, and Skip Bayless, I might add, unfortunately for all you Spurs lovers out here, that's right, all of y'all, I forgot to add this part. If you take away the fourth quarter, a legitimate argument could be made that the Miami Heat have looked like the better team in this series.
Okay.
So look out as you're going to Miami, because I got news for you. I believe the Spurs are going to win one of these next 2 games. But let me say this. They had better, because if they don't, this series ends in Miami in 6. You better win Game 3 or 4.
Wait, do I hear you?
Boom!
Do I hear you starting to lean toward Miami's going to win both games in Miami?
No, I'm not saying. I do believe I just prefaced it by saying I believe the Spurs will win one of the 2.
You're doing one of those slickster things.
No.
Slip in your point in the back door.
What do you mean
That's
by
your
that?
specialty. That's your specialty.
Yeah, he calls you duplicitous.
Hey, wait a second. He does call me duplicitous. So I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, Mr. Smith. Who made the shot to win the game for the Heat last night and the pass to
Chris
ice
Bosh.
the game? Chris Bosh. Is he the greatest player in the world?
No.
I don't think
He's
so.
not, no.
So where was the greatest player down the last couple of minutes?
Really?
No, I'm just
Really?
saying. I'm just saying.
Really?
Chris Bosh was the man who rose to the late occasion for that team. No, I'm not really. I'm just stating a fact here.
Skip.
I'm stating a fact.
Hold on. Skip. You're trying to tell me the basketball game 2 of the NBA Finals that you watched last night. Listen, I said that Chris Bosh was the key to this series because he had to show up in this series before the series even began.
You didn't mention him in your opening soliloquy. I couldn't believe it.
Wait a minute. I appreciate the fact that he made a big shot when called upon with 1:18 left. But I choose to defer to the dude that carried them throughout the game. What is the matter with you?
Okay, but wait. You said they would have won game 1 if LeBron had been able to beat the cramps or not had the cramps down the stretch. But last night, the man who did the most late damage was not LeBron James. It was Chris Bosh.
Because he made a shot?
Does he not make a lot of clutch shots? Does he not make the most clutch shots on the team?
Dwayne Wade made a layup that was fed to him by Chris Bosh.
Thank you.
So what I'm saying to you is this.
Thank you.
So are we going to sit there and say right now, are you on the record saying that because Chris Bosh made a key pass to Dwayne Wade and because he made the key pivotal three-pointer with 1:18 left, that usurps the performance that you saw LeBron James put on display?
I just made the case, despite all of the greatness that was on display from LeBron James, with 1.5 minutes to go in the game, the Spurs have the basketball in a 1-point lead. And LeBron did no more damage after that, unless, back to your point that you made last Friday, unless you make the point that LeBron on Tony Parker changed the game on defense. I would agree with that point because I don't like Tony Parker against LeBron because he's intimidated by LeBron and he dribbles the air out of the basketball trying to figure LeBron out. I want LeBron to be forced to guard Ginobili because he has a lot harder time on Ginobili.
Actually, the problem that Tony Parker has with LeBron is unlike anybody else who defends Parker, and Parker's able to run around the picks and get open jump shots on the wing. LeBron is one of those rare physical specimens who can easily fight through the screens, and he's able to stay in front of Tony Parker as opposed to getting picked off. That's the issue. So Popovich has to do a better job of freeing up Tony whenever LeBron is going to be on him in order to negate LeBron's impact defensively.
So what happened with 1.5 minutes left? The Spurs go all the way to the end of the clock because Tony tries to dribble LeBron James down to the low post and fake him off his feet. Are you kidding me? You got no shot. And the ball goes off. Did it go off LeBron or go off Tony Parker? They finally said Spurs ball with 0.8 seconds left.
Right.
You're going to lose because you blew another possession. You gave the visitors way too many chances down the stretch in which you did not cash in. And when it was time to cash, who cashed? I'm just making the case because it's the truth. The big shot of the game was not hit by LeBron James. It was hit by Chris Bosh, who's made a ton of big clutch threes for this basketball team.
I want to remind you, Skip Bayless, that it's very, very important that you recognize that when Chris Bosh grabbed the rebound and kicked it out to Ray Allen in that heart-wrenching Game 6 win for Miami last year.
Thank you.
You came on the set the next day and you lamented how Tim Duncan wasn't in the game.
No, Pop always does that. I defended Pop, actually.
You said that that's something he always does.
He always does.
So you weren't knocking him for the move.
But he got heavily criticized for not having done
I know that, but what I'm saying is you were pointing out how it might have been a different outcome.
Sure.
My point to you is it didn't negate the fact that the Miami Heat were the world champions. So keep that in mind. So you can point to this.
But last night was the flip side of that. Because Duncan didn't even try to go out on Bosh on the 3. Kawhi Leonard tried to run at him.
Well, what about when Parker hit the 3 because Chris Bosh wouldn't even put his hands up? I could point to a lot of different things that Miami could have done differently. But in the end,
was that not the shot of the game?
Whatever needed to be done got done. And Miami is tied 1-1 right now. And you're about to go to South Beach having a deal with that.
Wait a minute. Yeah, look. Wait a minute. A lot of Heat fans. What's going on here?
They're getting wise.
I think there are a lot of Heat fans here.
They're getting wise.
There are a whole lot of Heat fans that have infiltrated this crowd today.
They have. There's one lady behind you. Extremely
You know why?
Yeah.
You know why? They know what's coming.
All right, listen.
They know what's coming.
All right, listen. Speaking of LeBron, we'll wait for that. The Spurs outscored the Heat when LeBron was not on the court. Listen, you guys, I'm trying to get through some jobs here. 1 second here. So let's talk about that. Pop said this really, I thought was interesting. He said the only way that they can win if the best player isn't scoring. They had to stop the best player from scoring. So Stephen A., from what you saw last night, I mean, you said you thought Miami would win in 7. Skip says he thinks the Spurs will win in 6 in Miami. Has your prediction changed at all after what you've seen last night? Not to say that you're going to go for the Spurs, but perhaps
my prediction
sooner than later?
No, listen, it's possible that it could be sooner than later. Listen, the Spurs are an elite team. Just even though I picked Miami, I am fully aware of the fact that Miami has to bring their A game in order to win this series. Otherwise, the Spurs will be champions. Okay. I'm not trying to disrespect the San Antonio Spurs, but last night was emblematic of every reason as to why I picked Miami to win this series. I believe that the Spurs are the better team. Mm-hmm. I believe that the Spurs are the deeper team. I just don't believe they have LeBron James, and they don't have a LeBron James. And because of it, I believe that's the difference. And even though I don't compare LeBron to Jordan, I bring up the Jordan analogy in this respect. There were at least a couple of occasions, whether it be Phoenix or one of the, or Seattle or whatever the case may be. I truly believe that there were times when the Chicago Bulls were not a better team than their opponent, but the opponent didn't have Michael Jordan, and that was the difference. I don't believe, I'm looking at this, listen, Kawhi Leonard can play. He's got a lot of promise, he's young, but it's not an accident that he seemed relatively helpless last night. It's because he was going up against LeBron. Danny Green attempted 5 shots. That's not an accident. Tony Parker couldn't make the key pivotal play when he was being defended by LeBron. It's not an accident. The third quarter was where the tone, regardless of how, the Spurs came back, the tone was established because LeBron put them on notice that at any given moment, I can take this over. Yeah. And it changed the complexion of the game. It's one thing if he's not in the game. It's one thing if he's struggling. But when LeBron gets going, the way he got going in the third quarter of last night's game, it changes everything because it makes the opposition suddenly stand up and say, oh, damn. Yeah. We're in a world of trouble now. And when you are on that basketball court and you have that kind of mentality, ask any player, any star, they will tell you they can sense it. And teams sense it as well. And no matter how much he wants to argue with me, Skip Bayless knows this because he's covered too much basketball not to know what I'm saying is the absolute truth.
Whoa. What's going on? What's going on here? Look at that.
You know what amuses me about all your front-running bloviating right now?
Running?
Yes, front-running bloviating.
It's tied. The series is tied.
I would think, after you have tried to convince me that one team has by far the world's greatest player, that you would amend your prediction to Heat in 5. But you're sticking with Heat in 7, which means you're paying homage. You're paying huge respect to my San Antonio Spurs, even though your team has the greatest player in the world. You should change your prediction.
Well, first of all, you and all of your little fandom here.
Yeah,
it's not going to make
fandom.
It's not going to make me. Well, you just said it was little because you saw the Heat fans here. Oh. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is you're not going to change, and I don't play that game with you. I do what I do. Okay, I don't worry about what you try to get me to do. The Spurs, I have never discredited the Spurs. It has not happened. I'm just simply saying, unfortunately, when it counts, and keep in mind, I'm not only predicting that the San Antonio Spurs will lose in 7. A 7th game would be here, which means I'm predicting LeBron will come back here and win it. So let's keep that in
mind. Okay. Here's my prediction. I'm going to not change one bit. I got Spurs in 6. Spurs in 6. Can we hear a little bit? Spurs in 6. Spurs in 6. Spurs in 6. Spurs in 6. Thank you. That's enough. Now, here's why I absolutely believe that my Spurs will win one game in Miami. If memory serves, they won Game 1 last year's finals in Miami. Mm-hmm. They were in commanding position to win Game 6 in Miami. They had numerous chances in the fourth quarter to very possibly win Game 7 in Miami. So I think the Spurs are very comfortable playing in American Airlines Arena in Miami.
Why are you acting like there's some epiphany that kicked in on this show?
Because
both of us have been
I have
saying,
to listen to all your greatest player
both
talk.
of us have been saying before this series even began that it would be tied 2-2 after 4.
Okay.
Which means that the Spurs would have to win one in Miami. So what? You want a cookie? Who cares?
I don't eat cookies.
You don't? Not one?
I don't eat cookies.
Nothing? Okay.
My Spurs were 30-11 during the regular season on the road, and I've often made the case on this show, and that was by 5 games the best road record in the league. I've often made the case I actually like them a little bit away from home.
Yeah.
I know you did.
I do.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident in my pick of Spurs in 6, going back to that arena to avenge the debacle that was the end of Game 6 last year.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, and speaking of going back to that arena, that's exactly what we'll be doing here at First Take. We are live in South Beach at the Clevelander Hotel. Can you believe it? We will be there Monday. Take a look, folks. Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern now on ESPN2 and ESPN News. The crew is on the road for the NBA Finals Tuesday.
I will need a ride.
You need a ride where?
I don't know where the Clevelander is.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were the mayor of South
How do
Beach.
you not know, Mayor?
You don't know the Clevelander?
Well, the Delano and other spots.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Okay, so let me tell you who's going to be on the show that week. You guys know this guy. All I do is win, win, win. DJ Khaled. You guys know him? No?
Yeah.
As a rapper?
Yeah, we know him.
Flo Rida will be there. We'll also have a lot more guests. And then Stephen A. will be officially crowned the mayor of South Beach. Are you ready for that?
I'm liking the Cleveland already.
You are?
Because they're allowing me to be crowned officially. You know, people will vote. I don't know if y'all noticed this, if y'all knew this, but people actually voted, and they want me to be mayor for a day. So
Yes.
I just, I'm lying, but you know what
No, you deserve to be the mayor. We'll be there tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, folks. Go Spurs, go on the Riverwalk. The city of San Antonio is where we're at. Population 1.3 million. Half of those people, I'd like to believe, are here watching First Take. Charity champion here with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. Let's talk about what they are calling Parkering. The kids are so disrespectful these days on the internet. Tony Parker, you may remember this, was knocked down last night in the fourth quarter after an elbow from Mario Chalmers. That was called a flagrant. Parker then misses the 2 free throws and leaves the game just for a few minutes to stand on the sidelines by his coach. But then he came back in, and then nowadays they're saying, you know what? This is the Parkering. It was on the internet last night as opposed to the LeBroning because of the cramps. I don't know. Look, Stephen A., let me ask you this. Should people be as tough on Parker as they were on LeBron?
Well, there are some people in our society who are incredibly ignorant, and they need to be called out. Because, unfortunately, we've gotten to the point where we're so cynical that we've got adults acting like children, and I don't really have time for that. The fact of the matter is he got kneed. He got elbowed, rather, in the midsection. Sometimes that can knock the wind out of you. That's a relatively painful situation to get up and to go to the free throw line. Everybody can't be Kobe. You got the torn Achilles, you roll up in there, you drag your feet, you drill 2 free throws or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Parker, it would have been nice for him to make one, if not both, but it happens. And we understand that. And at the end of the day, it was pivotal because you don't need to miss that many free throws because that ultimately cost the San Antonio Spurs, and we understand that. But at the same time, for it to be to a point where people are all over social media and they're coming up with new ways to be insulting, it's becoming incredibly alarming. It was alarming with the whole LeBron James situation. It's alarming with this.
Was that a flagrant foul to you?
No.
Not to me either.
I
I immediately
think it was.
tweeted that is not a flagrant foul.
No.
That's basketball. He was trying to create a little space.
Yeah, and it's not like he winded up and elbowed.
Yeah.
He's driving to the basket and swinging his arms. It wasn't. I don't think Mario Chalmers had any malintent whatsoever.
Thank you. Now, we're back to our old nemesis on this show. I don't know if Tony Parker was hurt or not because I don't know what he was feeling at that point. Sure. If we hear today that Tony Parker has 2 cracked ribs and can't play Game 3, it's going to be a whole different story.
Sure.
I don't think that happened. And I want to be fair about this because both teams have some flop artists on it. Both teams.
That is a fair point. That is
Dwayne
so
Wade
true.
and LeBron, they can flop with the worst and best
That
of
was
them,
a
right?
great flop on Dwayne's part.
Was it? To get my third foul?
Yeah.
Is that not a terrible call?
That was he should be.
Okay.
I don't want to take money out of Dwayne Wade's pocket, but that was definitely a big time flop.
Thank you.
That was no doubt.
Now, do the Spurs have their share of floppers? Manu will flop.
Yes, he does.
Your friend Tiago Splitter will flop.
Yes. He's an actor.
Tiago
really is an actor.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Hollywood
an actor.
after this.
Hollywood
Good-looking guy.
Yes.
Maybe he's got a second
He
career.
does have a future.
Okay, Tony Parker will occasionally flop. Maybe it's their Euro soccer influence. I don't know. Maybe they learn to play basketball. That's just how you do it. In this case, I do think his feet need to be held to some fire because he's not LeBron James, but arguably he's their best player, their most talented player. That goes back and forth from game to game. My issues with Tony going forward are always that something is always a little bit wrong with Tony Parker. So if you're going to, quote-unquote, be melodramatic or flop just to get the flagrant call, which you successfully got, then suck it up, tough it out, walk to that free throw line, and drain both free throws.
Sure.
You have to close that little deal. Set the tone for your team. When you miss both of them, then your leader, Tim Duncan, follows you to the free throw line immediately and badly misses 2 more. And again, that took the heart out of that team. I didn't like the way he did not respond to what I thought was a little bit of an acting job.
No. Well, if you get hit in the midsection, you get the wind knocked out of you, and then you got to get up and go to the free throw line. Sometimes that can affect you. Secondly, I don't know anyone in NBA history who has shot 100% from the free throw line. Not one individual who's ever played. And I don't know anybody who's been 100% in crunch time. Everybody misses at some point in time. It's not good that you miss. The better free throw shooters are supposed to make those free throws. I will give you that. But at the same time, it happens. It happens.
Okay, but it doesn't happen to your 2 best players in the middle of the 4th quarter of a pivotal game 2 at home against a really good basketball team that's the 2-time champ. You can't miss 4 in a row.
You know
miss
what?
4 in a row. The odds are you're probably going to
lose
lose that game. And by the way, what were they, 12 out of 22
12
total?
out of 20
Come
from the
on.
free throw line.
Really?
Yeah.
12 out of 20, so they missed 8.
Yep.
Okay. Come on.
Tim Duncan's not the greatest free throw shooter in the world. It's a given to me that he's going to miss 1 in most situations.
Yeah, but he's been much better this year. He's been much better in the playoffs. And it was a crucial point in that game that I still think took some life out of the home crowd and the home team.
Okay.
Right? And it all came off of flop or no flop.
Flop or no flop.
Yeah.
Let's table this because we'll discuss it later, I'm sure. Back out live. Hard Rock Cafe, San Antonio, Riverwalk. Sitting with the Brian Windhorst. Oh my gosh, they're clapping for you. This is for you. No?
I can't hear you.
I just want to say, I want to take one moment to say that when we get to South Beach, you are allowed to act up as well. You're allowed to encourage the crowd as well.
I leave that kind of stuff to Skip. My personality is a little bit different than the folks in South Beach and the environment.
Yeah, we'll see how you are in South Beach. Yeah, we'll see about
the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of the South Beach and LeBron, Brian Windhorst, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know this, he was a Cleveland Cavaliers beat writer. Give it up for him. You've been covering LeBron since high school, and we are happy to have you on the show.
By the way, can I make a quick comment?
Yeah, make a quick comment.
Brian Windhorst is one of my favorite writers, and for me, that's high praise.
Thank you, Skip.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
He does an exceptional job. Y'all should listen to this podcast, too.
I heard it was really good.
Both of you have been guests?
Yeah.
We have to get you on next.
Yes, because you know what I'm talking about.
I'm going to want the real story.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the behind the scenes. The E60 Skip and Stephen A. Okay, quickly. The other day in the press conference, LeBron James actually said you, my friend, knows him better than anyone else, even his mother. Let's take a listen and we'll get your reaction.
You guys have seen everything that my life has had to offer since I was a 15-year-old kid. I don't even know if Brian Windhorst is in here somewhere. Is he? If so, he can tell you my whole life story better almost than my mother could. So I think that's what it has a lot to do with. I've been going through it for so long. Half of my life I've been in front of this. So it makes me an easy target.
LeBron responding to criticism, heavy criticism. Brian Windhorst, when you hear that, I'm sure you were there in the press conference. How do you react to that? How does it make you feel?
Almost better than his mother could.
Almost. Not quite.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been covering him. I've known him since he was 14 years old. You know, I knew him before he could shave. I knew him when he was just a little kid. You know, when he was 14, he looked like a kid. You go back and look at photos of him. He looked like a kid when he was 14. I've been through a lot with him. You know, I was with him when he had to leave the Cavaliers to have his first child. We went through that. So I sort of talked about it when I became a father, which is very important to him. I was with him at his lowest moments. I was with him in the locker room after he lost to the Celtics in 2008, and he was crying in the locker room. I've been with him after he's won his title. So I've been to Japan with him. You know, I've been to Newfoundland covering him. You know, I've been all over the country. Gloria doesn't go out to Salt Lake City in the middle of January to cover games like I have. So Gloria knows him better than I do. But, you know, LeBron and I went to the same high school. I'm older than him. Mm-hmm. My senior year at St. Vincent St. Mary in Akron, the basketball team was 3-17.
Wow.
Got a little bit better when LeBron came. But my mom is a teacher. She just finished her 47th year teaching. She taught LeBron.
Wow.
She taught LeBron freshman health, which means my mother taught LeBron sex education.
Oh, no. So many connections.
Wow. So we go back. But, you know, sometimes I upset him. Sometimes he upsets me. Sometimes he appreciates me. Sometimes I appreciate him. It's been a long partnership, and it's going to go on.
Did you like it that he acknowledged that publicly?
You know, he has before. That was on a big stage. It was at the finals.
Yeah.
There's other times when he's said some things to me that I wouldn't want to hear in public. So, and his guys have said stuff to me that I wouldn't have public. So hopefully I can chronicle him and continue to chronicle him. It's been a great privilege and a great responsibility too, because sometimes you gotta knock him on the knuckles. And as you well know,
sometimes they can't take it. But let me say this, and I think it's important to say, a guy like LeBron, it takes a lot for him to give the level of access to somebody. Mm-hmm. You know, clearly he trusts you, and clearly you've done an exceptional job covering him over the years, and you should be commended for that. So I just want to let you know.
I appreciate it, but, you know, it's always about the next, you know, in the newspaper business, I'm an old newspaper guy, you're an old newspaper guy, you're an old newspaper guy. It's all about the next story. So I got to worry about what I'm going to write about him today.
Sure.
Okay, so much will be made all day today about how King James responded to his critics. Yet we've had you on before, and you've made the case that over the last, 4 or 5 years, LeBron has pretty much tuned out the critics. How much does he hear from his inner circle, or how much does he read and listen to and watch?
Well, in the playoffs, when he says his phone is off, he legitimately means it. That phone is off. His guys can't get a hold of him. Like, you're like, well, I'm going to check with LeBron on this. They're like, well, we can't. We can't because we can't reach him. So he honestly has turned it off. I don't know whether he's watching in the mornings. Like, you know, he's an ESPN junkie. And he watches this show during the regular season. In the playoffs, I don't think he's watching today. But when something happens, like he's getting criticized for not being able to finish the game with cramps, he is made aware.
By
the Heat, by his boys, you know, by people who he does let into his life. When he came out into that press conference the other day, and he gave that interview to Michael. When the interview with Michael Wilbon was about 5 minutes before that press conference in another room, and that was when he said, "I'm an easy target." He said that because he had heard what was being out there about him.
You know, it's interesting. Well, let's not rule out the wife, because anytime you trust me, she can reach him.
Yeah.
I promise you that she can reach him. But here's the deal. When I look at LeBron right now, I do believe he's the easiest target. And I do believe once upon a time I thought he brought it on himself. Now I don't view it that way. Mm-hmm. I think that as the years have progressed, I think there's a flagrant lack of appreciation for the level of greatness that we're witnessing. And when he's gone, he's going to be missed. Unlike any other, and here's why. Because in Jordan's case, he was appreciated while he was here. I'm not certain LeBron is being appreciated. What do you make of that?
I think in this era of social media, and we all experience this, people in society default to being rude. You know, if you walked out on the street right now, you walked out on the street, you bumped into somebody, they'd say, I apologize, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run into you.
Sure.
They'd, embrace you, say hello. People default to being polite in society. But on social media, which is consumed so much of what we do, people default to being vicious. And he has felt the wrath of that more than anybody. That wasn't something that Jordan had to deal with, or Magic had to deal with, was that nature of our society. And maybe it'll be different. Maybe we'll evolve and it'll be different in 20 years, and the next star won't have to deal with that. But that's something he's come to terms with. He realizes that Stephen A., he tried to be the villain. And back in 2010-11,
didn't work.
It lasted for one day. He won a game out in Portland on the last-second shot. He got booed. And after the game, he said, "That's okay. I'll be the villain. I'll be the guy in black." The next day, he was like, "You know what?
That's not me.
I had a bad night thinking about what I said, and he's just moved on from that.
Okay, so I'm hearing both of you think that LeBron James is the easiest target in all of sports.
Yes.
Correct? I cannot see that. To me, Alex Rodriguez is the easiest target in all of sports because nobody will defend Alex Rodriguez. I could maybe even throw Ryan Braun in there because only in Milwaukee do they seem to defend Ryan Braun.
Two cheaters?
Okay. All right, but I'm just saying, you're talking about the easiest target. This is just my take from my seat that I sit in. I think mostly the media will leap to LeBron's defense. Most of the media. I'm going to say 90% of the media will defend LeBron really at any cost, at any juncture. They will mostly react to social media criticism. And I agree with you that he's the easiest target on social media, and some of that is his fault. And we see the crying LeBron pictures and all the backlash obviously to the cramps. But it seems like to me that he's mostly defended by the national media and often ridiculed on social media. Is that fair? Is that...
You're right. Nobody's defending Donald Sterling right now.
No, there's another one.
Yeah, so okay. He is. Your point is well taken. What I think he feels like the easiest target.
Okay.
In sports, but I think you're right. He's not the easiest target because you're right. You can take an opposing view, and he can provide an opposing view. You can come out.
What do you think?
Yeah, I disagree with both of y'all. It's all according to definition. When I say you're the easiest target, I'm talking about something where an argument can be made that it's not justified. I'm not. Listen, if a criminal walks out here, okay, you're a criminal. Us calling you a criminal, that doesn't make you a target. That makes it with stating fact. You understand what I'm saying? Alex Rodriguez is a performance-enhancing drug user. You understand? Who swindled the New York Yankees out of $300 million. You understand? You got Ryan Braun, who sat up there, had $102 million at least waiting for him with his new contract, and sat out there and tried to dime out and paint some poor urine sample collector as a villain who probably wasn't making $70,000 a year. That's a statement of fact. Whereas with LeBron, you're sitting back and saying, wait a minute, this is the greatest player in the world. The man has been in the league for more than 11 years. His biggest crime, ladies and gentlemen, never in the police blotters, never any kind of negativity whatsoever. The biggest thing that LeBron James ever did negatively was the decision. That's all we have. Yet you would think that this guy is just depending on who you ask, on which day you ask them, he's the worst dude on the planet. Oh, he's a crybaby. He's fake.
Hey, who says that? Who says that?
No, I'm saying, yes, you are right in terms of social media.
Thank you.
Also, well, wait a minute. But social media also ignites those to jump up the second he does something wrong. He has the cramps the other day. Even though Chris Broussard was talking to you, he was really talking about a lot of people out there when he said people who are getting on LeBron now have been waiting the last couple of years to do this. They wanted an encore performance from his performance against Dallas in the finals. They wanted that to happen again so they could get on him. But what are you going to say when he wins back-to-back league MVP honors and world championships? There was nothing to say, and then the cramps come up, and all of a sudden, that's an excuse for everybody to come out. It was cramps. It was one game. You would have thought he lost the NBA finals.
It was because of the way he reacted to having cramps. He was such a, if I can, drama king. He was so melodramatic about it.
Yeah.
Oh, take me out, coach, and then I got to get carried out. Jordan doesn't do that. Kobe doesn't do that. You're asking for it if you're the best player in basketball.
What I'm saying to you is that even if your point is correct, and I don't believe it is, the point that I'm trying to make to you is that it was one game, one moment. But people were treating it as if it defined who he was as a player. He's the best player in the world. It's one game. You know that the Heat, 13 consecutive times now, they have come back after losing a playoff game. And still, we act as if he lost the damn finals. It was one game.
Agree with Stephen A?
I mean, I think the most amazing statistic about this entire Heat team, and it's completely because of LeBron, 16 consecutive series. They played 16 series. 16 times they've won a road game. That's amazing. That's an absolutely incredible number. And you don't do that unless you can handle pressure, unless you can handle things. And I agree with you, Skip. LeBron wanted everybody to know that he wasn't 100%. but he also wasn't 100%.
He was not 100%, and I never questioned that part.
Right.
I mean, he obviously did cramp. All right, let's go to a deeper level here. Let's play a soundbite that I heard that LeBron gave to, who was it? Was it to Doris after
Yes.
the game? Doris Burke
Sure.
on ABC, in which he mentioned God. And I've not, to my memory, heard LeBron mention God publicly like this. Could we hear this quickly?
LeBron, early on in this game, you were aggressive attacking the paint, then you went perimeter. What dictates your decision-making there?
Just play. Live with the results. If I play hard, I believe that the man above is going to protect me. And I just try to put my teammates, myself in position to succeed. And I live with the results after that.
Okay, so if I play hard, said LeBron James, I believe the man above will protect me. Have you heard God references in your one-on-ones with LeBron?
It's come and gone over the years. It's hard for me to say exactly how he is personally. When he first came into the league, it was something that he definitely embraced. He definitely has gone away from that recently. But I think something about the playoffs, he gets much more insular when the playoffs come around. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's when he maybe turns to that, looks for that support more.
Somebody told me something, because obviously there was a time when, when he performed badly in the fourth quarter of the NBA Finals against Dallas. I'm sitting there going like this. Everybody was coming at me and, he and I weren't talking. And people were looking at me saying, well, you got to understand. I was like, no, I don't. Because you're usually complimentary about somebody. He didn't perform well in the NBA Finals in the fourth quarter. I pointed that out. What's the problem? Let's be big boys about it, grow up. They said, no. What he was going through at that particular time, when you consider the weight of the world that's on this man's shoulders, you have to take that into consideration. You can't just shove that aside and discuss stuff in a vacuum and act like there are other ancillary things, other things on the periphery that isn't having a profound effect on
I don't think
somebody's
people
life.
understand.
And that's what they were saying.
His family also. Yeah. His first year in Miami, he was miserable because his family didn't come to Miami with him. His now wife, Savannah, and his two sons lived in Akron. They did not want to come. And part of his transition was to say, hey, listen, I need my family here in Miami. And you know what? He had to make a deal. He had to get married, which he did. Yep. And her parents got to move down and live with them for a while in Miami with her boys.
Yes, they did.
He made a deal to get them down there because he knew that was important. So that goes into...
But nobody knew that. Nobody knew that at the time.
Right.
Because to know LeBron, you don't want to hurt the dude. You appreciate his skills, but you also appreciate his commitment to excellence, his dedication, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody that's halfway decent should want to hurt this dude. You understand what I'm saying? You root for him. But at the end of the day, you got to call it like you see it. And against Dallas, he came up small. Ever since that, he's been nothing but large. But to answer your question to Brian, it brings into focus why he has, I wouldn't be surprised if his spiritual relationship has increased. His family relationship has definitely improved exponentially. His friends are his friends. They are who they are for life. Dwayne Wade was like a big brother, but now he's elevated to another level. I'm talking about LeBron within the organization. He's now comfortable being on his own. Far more than he used to be. So all of those things come into consideration.
So do you agree, Brian, that his spirituality has risen as a priority in his life?
I can't say it's a priority, but I say he's way more well-rounded now than he was in 2011 when we saw him fail.
All right. So let's go back to a courtside level here, because you mentioned in your column today that one Johnny Football was seen. Was he? I don't know which row he was in.
I think he was in the first row.
First row. They did not show him.
Row two.
Second row.
Second row courtside.
They did not show him, to my memory, on television last night on ABC. But you mentioned that you thought in your column that LeBron got that ticket for a Johnny Manziel, who's from just up the road in Kerrville, which would put Johnny Football in a pretty rough position because he's clearly a LeBron, can we call him a client, right?
They're partners.
Yeah,
they're
partners.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were hanging out
he's
after
in
the game.
Spurs country. So tell us what you know about that.
Well, they were hanging out after the game, too. Johnny was there with LeBron's business partners and friends. And Johnny was wearing a Cavs hat.
Yes, he was.
Which was interesting and speaks to the Cleveland fans. And he got booed in the arena when they did show him on the Jumbotron.
No
and he got booed in the arena. I think Johnny feels a kinship to LeBron. Number one, because Johnny likes fame and popularity. I don't know Johnny at all.
Shocking.
But he is drawn to. Also, Johnny is familiar. He knows that LeBron can relate on a certain level. Now, LeBron's background Johnny Football's background, very different.
Right.
Texas, Ohio, poor, wealthy. But I think they can relate on certain levels. And already LeBron's guys, they got him a Nike contract.
Yes.
A good Nike contract from what most football players don't get what he got. And, they're business partners. What the first order of business that LeBron did, he got Johnny Manziel in a McDonald's commercial.
Yeah.
Well,
remember that?
Here's the bottom line. Johnny Manziel, I saw him last night, spoke to him a couple of times last night. Johnny Manziel may come from two completely different worlds, but he doesn't feel that his world is that much different than LeBron when it comes to scrutiny. And a legitimate argument can be made that he's right. Because as we watch the career of Johnny Manziel unfold, he may never be the player that LeBron James is. We don't know. But the one thing that is certain is that they are aiming for him. They target him. At every turn, they dissect and scrutinize and decipher everything that goes on in the world and the life of Johnny Manziel. He knows it, and that's one of the biggest reasons he's comfortable with LeBron, because he's looking at a guy that he knows he can go and talk to and knows exactly where he's coming from and what he has to do.
Also, Johnny likes to go to Miami for business.
Well, we know that.
Oh, like the mayor.
Yes.
The mayor likes to go for business.
I ain't apologize for it. A matter of fact, Brian Windhorst, I don't see you trying to move to New York, even though I know you're in New York, but I think you love Miami.
Quickly, we got to hold you accountable before we let you go. You picked the Spurs at the beginning of the season. Why the switch?
Because Nate Silver, I read Nate Silver's book, and he says when new information becomes available, you switch your prediction. Also, I thought Stephen A, I thought you just won the debate. That's what happened.
Oh.
Is that anything new?
No. You know what?
Timing.
When LeBron's been on the floor in this series, the Heat have been the better team. There was really nowhere to say it. The Heat now have the home court advantage, which the Spurs had when I made the pick.
So your pick, Brian Windhorst, has absolutely nothing to do with your relationship with LeBron James.
Trust me.
Okay.
If you had LeBron sitting here right now,
He told
the
us
best would be if you had the buzzer so he could curse. Then you'd really get to see a sense of how our relationship would be.
I respect that.
I will say this. You're very compelling. We love to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your work.
Thank
Give
you.
it up, everyone, for Brian Windhorst, please. Good job. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Riverwalk, a very rambunctious crowd. Time for Carrie's Court. I'm by the pick'em board, and I have probably the best question asker we've had all series long. I got Bobby here. Bobby, tell us where you're from.
Abilene, Texas.
How old are you?
9.
Who do you have a question for?
Skip.
Okay, so ask your question.
Yes, Bobby. Go ahead.
Why is LeBron James so awesome?
That's for me?
Yes.
I should serve that question up to my friend Stephen A. Smith, the biggest LeBron fan.
He asked you. Answer the child.
Okay, I will. Bobby, that is a sensational question. The reason to me LeBron James is so awesome is because he is one of the best passers I have ever seen. And I appreciate the fact that he shares the basketball, a phrase that my friend despises, as well as anybody who has ever played the game, to go along with all of the obvious other talents that he has. That he did make a great find last night of Chris Bosh, fed him, hit him right in stride, right in the hands for that three-point shot that did put the Heat ahead. But I love his passing as much as I love any other part of his game. That's why he's so awesome to me.
To me, he's a physical specimen. To be 6'8", to be about 250 to 260, to be able to do the things with a basketball that he can do, to do the things athletically that he could do. I love that. But the greatest part about LeBron James to me is that he's somebody that doesn't take his talents and gifts for granted. Every year you see him getting better in some area. Every year he seems to be improving and working on his skills. And that's somebody who doesn't rest on their laurels. And that's something we can all learn from. Don't sit there and rest on your gifts. Be about the business of constantly trying to get better every single day.
I forget, where are we? Are we in South Beach? Because that's why LeBron is so awesome. All right, next question is you're from Papalote, Texas. Did I get it right? Papalote? All right, Sal, it's for Skip. Tell him what you want to ask.
Skip, in the fourth quarter, who would you take, Tim Tebow or Johnny Manziel?
Okay, I have a question for you. Do I get Tim Tebow of 3 years ago in Denver? Because it's been a long time since he even got to play, right?
Yeah, at their peak. I don't know.
Okay, at their peak. Well, from what I saw from Tim Tebow 3 years ago, I would take Tebow. Now, I'm on the record. I'm taking Johnny for all 4 quarters because Johnny Manziel is going to be a star in this league. I never ever said Tim Tebow would even make a Pro Bowl, but I loved his 4th quarter intangibles. He was a force of competitive nature, and he had in the last 5 minutes of those games that he got to start in 2011 for the Denver Broncos, he had the #1 QBR in all of football in the last 5 minutes and took him on that 7-4 run, then won the playoff game against, obviously, his Pittsburgh Steelers with the overtime pass for the touchdown. So I'll take that guy if we're just talking 4th quarter, but I'm taking Johnny Manziel for the future.
I won't even dignify it with a response.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Stephen A. He
asked
from
the question.
Pepperoni.
He asked the question of whether I would take somebody in the 4th quarter over Tim Tebow. I'm not dignifying that with a response. Everybody knows where I stand.
I'm
with that.
sorry. All right. Either or. All right. Listen. So by way of background,
it ain't Tim Tebow.
Oh, it ain't Tim Tebow.
By way of background, Skip, when you answer this next question, set it up good for our kids because they may not know. This is Danny from San Antonio. Hi, Danny.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Do you believe Pete Carroll would have stayed at USC if he knew that sanctions were coming?
By the way, this man looks like Tim Tebow a little bit, doesn't he? Yeah. Thank you. I do not believe that Pete Carroll would have stayed. I think that's a little revisionist history that I just read early this morning on ESPN.com. I think it's a great thing for him to say right now. If he had known the severity, the depth of the sanctions, that he would stay at USC. Baloney, he would. Now, again, that's my 2 cents, but he got a great offer to go to a great place, to play for a great owner with an organization that he could pretty much control, and he ran. I thought he ran from what looked like was going to be severe sanctions, and it looked like he was pretty well aware of that when he ducked out the back door.
I completely agree with you about that. The only thing that I would add is that, however, he did go to Seattle. He did turn that organization around. He did the job. They're the best team in football right now because they're the reigning defending Super Bowl champions. And you let bygones be bygones, and we've all moved on.
All right, we got one more question here, and this one is specifically for Mr. Stephen A. Smith. This is Danny, not Danny from San Antonio. This is Lewis from Laredo, Texas. You look like a Danny. My bad.
It's all right. Stephen, being the Cowboys fan you are, is Romo going to get the job done this season?
Wait, ask that question again.
Is Romo going to win the Super Bowl this season?
Stephen A., you have to answer. It's specifically for you.
In life, we crawl before we walk. Don't you need to win a couple of playoff games first? Tony Romo has been the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys for 8 complete seasons and has a grand total of 1 playoff victory. He has never been to a conference finals, a conference championship game. He has never been to a Super Bowl, and that was when he didn't have a bad back with $55 million in guaranteed dollars to cushion whatever blows may come his way. It's over. The Dallas Cowboys stink, and the people here in San Antonio need to accept the fact. Y'all need to be rooting for the Houston Texans. At least they got Clowney with J.J. Watts. Because y'all ain't getting it done in Big D with the Dallas Cowboys. It ain't happening at least for the next year or so.
Stephen A., there's a Romo jersey behind you.
Listen, they can do that. They can do that. Listen, I could go to any Modell's or some department store and buy that jersey. It ain't going to buy you any victories. It ain't going to buy you any victories.
Allow me to say that here in San Antonio, I refuse to answer one more question from another Miami Heat fan. I'm done with them. Get them out of here. I'm going to have to put up with them for the next 4 days in your town, South Beach.
No, Skip, you're not playing fair. Can you answer the question?
Oh, please.
You're not being nice.
I'm not going to dignify that question from a Heat fan. I'm sorry.
Skip, you're not playing fair.
I'm done.
All right, Stephen A., you have the right to be out when we go to in Miami. You can do whatever you want to since he's not playing.
Good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. This is Carrie's Court. It's a little dysfunctional. My friends aren't playing along.
ESPN Radio. With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron. Comes alive. The NBA.
The Miami Heat have won the 2013 NBA title.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World Series.
A full championship series.
The tide has risen again. The third time in 4 years.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play. ESPN Radio.
The lovely Riverwalk. I enjoy walking down the Riverwalk since I've been here today. It's really been nice. Yeah, have you? Yeah, have you?
I wasn't on a Riverwalk.
Listen. Hey, Spurs fans. Okay. You are. And then the mayor hand. And the mayor hand. I was just telling Stephen A. that I enjoy walking down the Riverwalk. It's been lovely since we've been here. San Antonio, it's a beautiful city. I think you might enjoy walking along the beach when we get to Miami.
Yeah.
No. You think so?
I think that's safe to say.
Oh, what about you? You're not. Oh.
With the police force with me, maybe.
That's the only way you can walk down.
Yeah.
All right. Look, so let's talk about LeBron James. You want to see about his expectations for the rest of the series. Stephen A., obviously we saw how he could just turn it on when he wants to. Hand him the ball, he can take you to the promised land.
Yeah.
What do you expect from him for the rest of the series?
More the same. I expect LeBron James to average anywhere from 27 to 33 points per game in this series. I definitely think that Popovich is going to figure some things out and try to make it a bit difficult for him. But the problem is that LeBron James' success isn't predicated strictly on scoring the basketball. It's getting other people's involved. It's rebounding. Sure. It's defending. There's a lot of different things that he brings to the table. So because of it, how are you going to neutralize him when there's a multitude of ways that he could beat you? If he's forcing turnovers and that leads to fast break points, how does your defense able to get back and set up and defend him? If he's sitting there and feeding a Chris Bosh or a Dwayne Wade, yeah, he might not put up as many points, but he might register more assists. If he's rebounding the basketball, what are you going to do? That's what makes LeBron James LeBron James. Yeah. San Antonio, again, is a better team, a more deeper team. They just don't have King James. That's their problem.
Okay, so to me, and I'm being completely objective about this, if King James, as you call him, plays in games 3, 4, and 5 the way he played last night, Spurs are in trouble.
Okay.
Remember, last year in the finals, LeBron had a couple of oddly disengaged games. Steven Jackson sat right there during the finals last year and said, hey, King better come to play. Yeah. They're going to be in trouble. Remember that?
Yeah.
A couple of just odd games where he just didn't seem to be mentally engaged.
Yep.
Okay. Last night was a tour de force because clearly we saw Mr. Inside in the first half and Mr. Outside in the second half. But as I often point out, LeBron, and I think you would agree, he can be a little streaky from the perimeter. He caught a crazy hot streak in the third quarter and maybe even carried it a little into the early fourth quarter.
Right.
Do I think he'll keep that up? I do not think he'll keep that up. But it was an interesting attack last night because the whole first half was all in the paint.
Well,
the whole second half was in the perimeter.
No question. But here's the flip side to it. LeBron James didn't play like that in game 1. But he still had 23 points.
He was pretty good
in the third quarter.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he did the same thing because at the end of the third quarter last night, he had about, about 25, 27 points. So what I'm saying to you is that that different game still produced the same kind of numbers. He beat you a multitude of ways. Also keep in mind the fact that Mario Chalmers and Norris Cole have been struggling somewhat. Eric Spoelstra put the ball in LeBron's hands, and a lot of times LeBron was dribbling the ball up the court. A lot of times he was running that offense.
He was.
When he's doing that, and he's at the top of the key, and he's got both sides of the floor available to him to go either way, all of a sudden you've got a problem. Where you going to trap him at? Where you going to double up on him? Who you going to leave open? Because you don't know what direction he's going. Plus, because of his size, he sees over the defense. Sure. And when he sees over the defense, he sees where you're coming from, which makes him even more lethal because then he gets to dictate where he's going to go, etc. So, again, you're going to have a difficult time neutralizing him. And if Chris Bosh continues to hit his perimeter shots, and by the way, Rashard Lewis scored 14 points.
He did.
Let's keep that in mind, too. These are the kind of problems that the San Antonio Spurs do not want to have.
By the way, quick mention of Ray Allen. I thought he gave them crucial, tough minutes on defense and offense. I think Ray, at his age, is playing some superb basketball.
Not only that, he is showing you not just the heart of the champion, but the IQ of a champion. Because Ray Allen in the game, you're not losing anything with him there because he knows what it takes. He knows what it takes. Plus, if nothing else, he's a decoy. You can't leave him open. Can't leave Ray Allen open.
Cannot.
So that's a beautiful thing.
So Coach Popovich was asked after the game, did you think at all about sending a second guy at LeBron to take the ball out of his hands? And he gave his usual sarcastic answer, as he should have. I think that
he'll be open. Yeah.
I think he's a pretty good passer. He'll probably find the open man, which he usually does. But if LeBron continues to shoot the basketball from distance the way he did last night, Game 3, they will have no choice but to send somebody else at him to try to make somebody else beat them, because it may come to that.
And Skip, let me tell you something. Dwayne Wade may have only had 14 points last night. Every shot that Dwayne Wade wanted to take, he got. It's just some of them didn't drop. Dwayne Wade literally looks at times. I mean, it's like he's moving in slow motion. It's hard to see. It's hard to imagine. He looks like he can score when he wants. When he's on the court, when he's on the court, whether it's with his back to the basket or he's penetrating into the seams and pulling up for a J or whatever, he seems to be able to get his shot whenever he chooses. That's a problem too.
Okay, so Kawhi Leonard has had a hard time on LeBron James. And in the 2 regular season games, and in games 6 and 7, he did pretty well on LeBron. So now there's an issue of, do you try Diaw more on him? Do you try a little bit of Danny Green on him just to mix it up? But I'm going to make this point again, just for the Spurs fans' sake here. Remember, despite all of LeBron's greatness last night, do you realize the third quarter was one of the great offensive third quarters we've ever seen in a finals game? It was 35-34 Spurs in the third quarter. It was a shootout. And the Spurs go to the fourth quarter, they're in position to close the deal. So I'm not giving up on them. I'm just saying that despite all that greatness, let's not underestimate the offensive firepower on what is now the visiting team. But the visiting team, and I'm interested to talk to Sean Elliott about this, is going to have to figure out how to close the deal with a different attack.
The visiting team is going to have one definitive face.
That's correct.
To throw the ball to.
And I think it's Ginobili.
You have to have somebody that you're going to be willing to say, here
you go.
It's yours. It can't be, well, it's a different dude. We'll see how the game's flowing. It's got to be somebody that's all reliable.
You guys know who Sean Elliott is, right? He helped bring one trip here. Back in 1999. Thank you so much for being here. So,
and by the way, can I say quickly?
Yes, please.
I watch every Spurs game via TV. This man is sensational with his insight as the color commentator on all the Spurs times.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Do you really? Because that's a compliment coming from these kids.
Yeah, well, I know Skip watches all the games, so I call the games for Skip.
You do? Skip's this for you.
No, I call for Spurs fans, obviously, but yeah, we have fun, during our telecast. So we try to have a good time with it.
So obviously, you would obviously have a lot of insight on this. You picked the Spurs. Stephen A. says no surprise. We obviously figured you were picking the Spurs, but at this point in the series, how confident are you about your pick?
I'm confident in our guys. Obviously, I thought when the series started, the way we were playing, I thought we were going to win in 5. That's what I was telling everybody around me. We played the right way. Unfortunately, I thought last night in the fourth quarter, we shot a few too many home run balls trying to knock down that big 3. And we didn't execute in the last 2 minutes. Missing the 4 free throws obviously hurt us, but I didn't like the way we played. I didn't like any of the shots we took in the last 2 minutes of the game. We've got to fix that. We've got to do a better job of moving the ball and trusting in other players to make shots. If we do that, we have an excellent shot to win.
I agree. You do have an excellent shot to win if you do those things, but your inability to do those things have something to do with the Miami Heat.
Yeah, it has a little bit to do with Miami Heat. There's no question. You have to give them credit. They're a terrific defensive ball club. But you can't play into their hands by stopping the ball and trying to go one-on-one. We're not good enough to do that. We're not talented enough to do that. We're not going to out-talent anybody. We're going to out-team the Miami Heat. So, we've got to...
That's fair.
We've got to play the same way we played against Portland, the same way we played against OKC at OKC. We've got to get everybody involved, and that's the biggest thing. I like the big 3. I love the big 3. But the key to this year's team and last year's team was our bench and our reserve players, our guys who come off and support those 3 guys. If Boris Diaw has it going, if Patty Mills has it going, if Marco Bellinelli makes shots, then we're extremely dangerous. We're not good when we try to just give the big 3 the basketball and say, you guys go out there and win the game for us.
Okay, so last night degenerated into my pet peeve, and I need you to talk me off the ledge on this one.
Oh, Lord.
I don't like it when Tony Parker, at the point, dribbles the air out of the basketball.
Yeah.
Closing the game.
Oh, they do it right. Dribble.
Dribble.
There we
Dribble.
go.
I've done it so much I can't do it anymore. It's making me sick. But at Oklahoma City, Game 6, obviously Tony couldn't go, and this is no disrespect to Tony, but I sometimes, in closing time, like Ginobili running the point because he's always in attack mode. He makes things happen faster than Tony makes things happen. Some of them are not good things.
Okay.
Yeah.
See the pass to Duncan where he just threw it right through his hands.
Exactly.
100 miles an hour. But
Right.
at least he tries to initiate quickly. And if LeBron is covering Manu Ginobili, trust me, Manu's a little more confident than Tony is against LeBron because what's Manu, 6'6", so he can do some things. He's a little craftier. So that's what I want to see down the stretch. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Matt, I know which play you're talking about in particular, the play where Tony tried to go up and under on LeBron. What I didn't like about that play is at the beginning of that play, we didn't recognize that Timmy had Dwayne Wade on his hip. Yeah. The pass should have been made immediately, and since we held on to the ball, we allowed Bosch to get back onto Timmy, and we missed that mismatch early on in that play, and then we were left trying to go one-on-one against the best player on the planet, which I didn't like either. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't like to see a lot of dribbling. Pop hates that as well. I know because I've seen the film sessions where he addresses that issue, and he'll start counting. How many times dribbling the ball? 1, 2. He'll start counting. So he understands that. The team understands that. But what bothered me more than anything is that we didn't recognize at the beginning of that play that Timmy had Dwayne Wade on his hip. The pass should have been in there immediately.
Well, let me ask you this question. Because Tony Parker is a guy that was your MVP candidate last year, for crying out loud. I mean, Tony Parker is a big-time player. We understand that. He's a champion. He's certainly not dumb. So the point is that if Skip is pointing out too much dribbling and you're pointing it out, and Pop has pointed it out to him in film, then there's got to be some reason why Tim Duncan is doing it. Tony Parker's doing it. He is a very, very intelligent basketball player.
But
what's the problem?
He's an experienced player, and he's used to winning ball games. He's done it, in the Euro Championships. He's done it before. He was the Finals MVP in 2007. So he has the confidence, and he believes that he can take the game over. In that situation, it just wasn't the right time.
All right, let's go to this level. We haven't touched on this on the show today. Tim Duncan made the case after the game that the Heat took it up a level in aggressiveness, and he said that the refs didn't call that. He let that the refs let the Heat get more physical.
You mean they flopped a little bit more?
Well, maybe they flopped, but I thought last night, really, the Heat just played a more physical basketball game, and I respect that.
Yeah.
And if the Spurs are going to survive and win one of these two games at Miami, I think they're going to have to take it up a notch in physicality. I thought they got a little roughed up. I thought they got a little pushed around last night. The refs did often look the other way. Your thoughts on that issue?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And we've got to match that level of intensity and physicality when we go on the road. But we've been able to do that, Skip. I didn't know we could win in OKC. The Portland series scared the daylights out of me. I didn't know we could win that series, period, going into it. But our guys found a way to get physical in both those series and win those ball games. But, last night I saw some things I've never seen before on the court. I've never seen a guy move Boris Diaw around in the low block like LeBron did. I mean, Boris plays, he can guard 1 through 4. I've seen him up against the toughest, most physical guys in the low block, and I've seen him be a handful in the low block. And there was one point last night where LeBron sealed Boris Diaw and pushed him away and received the pass and scored. I haven't seen that. So we've got to pick up our intensity on both ends of the floor, and you're exactly right. Especially going on the road, we always believe that you had to be 10 points better than the home team on the road. Our guys definitely have to be a lot more physical.
But in order to do that, gentlemen, you're going to have to be able to go big. And that means someone other than Tim Duncan is going to have to show up and play. Now, you can mention Boris Diaw or Thiago Splitter. I mean, whatever way you want to go, fine.
By the
but
way,
you're going to have
shot at him on SportsCenter last night.
Well,
I'm surprised.
How was it?
You just,
my friend,
my friend, Come on.
Listen. All I'm saying to you is this: I'm looking at Thiago Splitter here, 19 minutes, 1 of 3, 2 points. I mean,
I thought he had a good stretch last night.
Yeah, I thought in the fourth quarter he got a little bit more physical.
Yeah,
he did. He said a mean pick.
Yeah, but listen, you got to give Chris Bosh credit. Thiago has a tough assignment. He's got to guard one of the best big men in the league. Bosh, who stretches the floor, takes him out a little bit, and then you throw Rashard Lewis, which is a tough matchup as well because bigs aren't accustomed to coming out there.
But this is what Spoelstra was planning. So when y'all talk about you got to get physical, in order to get physical, you got to get big.
No, we don't have to go big.
Really?
No, because you can go with a small lineup with Boris Diaw as your 4
Well,
and your
you
5.
just said that Boris Diaw got moved out the way.
That was the one.
Wait a minute. But
that's the only guy that moved Boris Diaw. That's the only guy I've seen move Boris Diaw all year. Just one man.
If LeBron moved Boris Diaw out, if you're going to talk about Boris Diaw being in the game with Tim Duncan per se, then isn't Tim Duncan going to have to stick Chris Bosh?
Yeah, Tim Duncan.
And then isn't the floor going to get stretched with Tim away from the basket?
It depends who's out there. I mean, it depends on who's out there on the floor.
That's all I'm saying. Somebody's going to have to deal with Chris Bosh if Chris Bosh is hitting those perimeter shots. In all likelihood, it's going to be one of your boys playing on the front court, which means you're going to pull somebody away from the basket, which is going to give Miami room to operate. That's the only reason Rashard Lewis is starting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
So let's continue on the Tim Duncan strategy. Back to Game 6. I got to revisit this. It's painful. But obviously, Coach Popovich got criticized for not having Duncan on the floor. Long rebound to Bosh, kick it in the corner to Ray, and we know the rest of the story. Overtime. Last night, it was interesting because Tim Duncan was on the floor late. Bosh did go camp at the three-point line. It was actually Kawhi who got picked off LeBron as he went into the lane, who made a run at Bosh on the three that changed the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Duncan didn't even go guard it. But on the next possession, Tim did go beyond the three-point line and try to guard Bosh, and Bosh just dribbled right around him and went in the lane and made the bounce pass to Dwayne Wade. Okay, what's the answer there?
Yeah, that's why it's always easy to second-guess the coach. I mean, obviously hindsight is crystal clear. And what people forget, it's like the Rod Strickland over-the-head pass here that Spurs fans remember, and they blame him for losing that game. That wasn't the reason we lost the game. We didn't lose the game because Timmy wasn't on the floor to get an offensive rebound. We had 2 opportunities to make 2 free throws. We had guys leaking out on those 2 3-point shots there in Miami last year. So we had opportunities to win the game. And furthermore, it was a strategy that Pop had employed numerous times during the regular season, and he was successful with it. So it didn't pay off in that situation because of various reasons, but that wasn't the sole reason we lost the ball game. So, you got it. It's a balance, Skip. You know, you're going to have those situations where Timmy's going to have to be in the game. He's going to run out at guys like Bosh and make them put on the floor. But that's what you do with 3-point shooters. You run them off the 3-point line, make them put it on the floor, especially bigs, because half the time they're going to dribble it off their foot. They're going to make a mistake. They're going to get tragic instead of magic with it. And so you just make sure you don't give those guys a wide open 3 like you gave Chris Bosh that 3 ball in the corner, where I thought we got a little too sucked in, paying too much attention to LeBron James, and he made a terrific cross-court pass.
So what strategic change would you like to see in Game 3 in Miami?
I don't think there are too many changes I'd like to see, to be honest with you. I think it's between the years. I thought we took care of the ball fairly well there in the first half. In the second half. First half we had 9 or 10 turnovers. Second half we took much better care of the basketball. But I thought, again, it came down to our execution down the stretch. Quit trying to do it yourself, and that's exactly what Pop said in the paper. Trust in your teammates. If you come off the screen, nothing's there, move the basketball. That's been our signature the whole time. We're not good enough to play one-on-one basketball down the stretch period, and that cost us the game.
What do you expect from Kawhi Leonard going forward after 2 fairly quiet games on his part?
Well, he's got to guard LeBron James, so it's, you're preoccupied with that most of the time instead of thinking about your offense. He's still in attack mode, but we don't run a lot of things for Kawhi Leonard. He gets his points here and there, kind of in the flow of the offense, but we're not running a lot of plays for him. And furthermore, it's tough to attack LeBron James if you're Kawhi Leonard. You're not going to post him up. Yeah. You try to face him on the perimeter, you're playing into his hands. He's obviously one of the best defenders in the game, so it's hard to just actively attack him.
But LeBron isn't always defending the Kawhi, and I guess the question for me would be, is it a mistake on the part?
Exactly right.
Is it a mistake on the part of the San Antonio Spurs to not get Kawhi Leonard more actively involved offensively? Because sometimes, as you well know, guys get inspired on the other end when you show them some action on the offensive side.
There's no question about that, and that was my pet peeve this year. not recognizing when Kawhi Leonard has a mismatch.
Oh, okay.
And we took way too long this year to recognize that. There were so many games this year, I'm sitting there hitting my talkback button, crying to the guys in the truck. Do they see Kawhi Leonard in the low block? He's got a guard on him, and we're throwing it to the opposite side in a mismatch that's not working for us. So our guys on the floor have to recognize. There were several times last night. Kawhi Leonard's coming down the floor. He's got Dwayne Wade on him. Put him in the low block. Make Dwayne Wade work on the defensive end of the floor. Put some pressure on him.
I'm delving into treacherous territory here, and I understand that. But I think it needs, because I have such profound respect for his greatness, I don't want this to come across wrong. I don't know basketball the way Greg Popovich knows basketball. But I'm thinking about a Steven Jackson, for example, when he was on the Spurs. I'm thinking about the fact that he felt like he was somebody that could play on the level of a Manu Ginobili. I'm thinking about Popovich's penchant for relying on the big three. And then that has me thinking about Kawhi Leonard and what's lacking there in terms of him not getting the necessary touches or having the level of involvement and action that, like you pointed out, and others think he should have. So I guess the question would be to you, Sean Elliott. Do you think that sometimes the great Greg Popovich sometimes get caught up in the old reliable as opposed to taking chances and relying on somebody new?
Well, I think Pop obviously is going to go with people who he trusts and who got him there and won titles for him.
Right.
But at the same time, he can't stop the flow of the game every time. He can't call plays every time down the floor. You know, there are times in the flow of the game or in transition when you find yourself with a mismatch, and at that point, you've got veteran players on the floor that can see what's going on.
And they got
to
identify.
They got to identify.
So it's not on Pop.
You know, Pop can't always call and say, hey, you know, every time Kawhi's got a mismatch, you know, we got to run, you know, 3 ice or, you know.
So then it's not about Pop.
3
it's
down
about
and low block. I think it's a combination.
Point guard.
You know, Pop's tried to let the reins go on Kawhi a little bit more this year. He's given him a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
Kawhi has also got to understand and continue to grow and learn and understand when he has a mismatch, and the guys on the floor have to do the same.
All right. Sean Elliott, give
I'm
it up.
fired up, man. After
Former
all that.
Spur great.
Ready
Give
to
it
go.
up for Sean Elliott. San Antonio Riverwalk, Hard Rock Cafe, first take. We're on the road for the finals. Apparently they're saying go Spurs, go. However, moments before we went to break, our next guest picked the Miami Heat to win the series. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for NBA veteran Damon Jones, please. Despite his pick, be nice.
Wait a second. Why is it Damon Jones always shows up after LeBron has a great game, strutting his stuff up here in his
perfect timing?
That's not true, Skip.
It is
because
true.
After game 1, I was standing over there in the corner after the loss, and I listened
You
to
were
what
hiding.
you said. No, I wasn't hiding.
No,
I was
you
just
were
sitting
standing
over
out.
there
I didn't see
taking in the show.
Okay.
I love the show, and I was watching, and I heard the things that you said. You were very critical, as usual.
Oh, stop.
This is my man.
Okay. Well, listen, let's make this note for everyone. 11 seasons in the NBA, 3 of those with LeBron James, a really good friend of his, and you're always great on the show. We appreciate you being here. So you guys, you have to be nice.
I appreciate you guys having me.
All right.
Really
So you got to defend your pick. Why?
I just think all things equal, Miami has the better team. And
team or player?
They have the better team. I think with everything equal.
Wow.
Now, I called game 1 the AC gate, and if LeBron James plays the last 4 minutes of that game, I think Miami wins that game going away.
Oh,
But
great. You've been listening to that guy too much.
No, because he went out with cramps. San Antonio opened it up. They end up winning big, but Miami came back in game 2 and did what they should have done in game 1.
So you're saying that the Heat have better depth than the Spurs?
I think so.
Well, that's a shock to me.
Yeah, because if you think about it, Rashard Lewis has played well.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray Allen is Ray Allen. If we could get a little bit more production out of Norris Cole and Mario Chalmers, I see Miami winning in 6. I think they're going to win it in 7. But if you get contributions from that point guard position, I see them winning in 6.
Wait, did you just say if we get a little bit more out? So you're a we?
Oh, yeah, of
Still
course.
a we?
RWTW. I'm rolling with the winners.
Stephen A.
I have nothing to ask. I heard you had a problem with me. I'm here.
You know, I mean, I don't understand what problem that you could possibly have with me, my boy. I got to find out from producers and people like that you come in there. You know me, you know my number, we hang. I don't understand why I'm just hearing that you had a problem with me. I want to know.
I mean, first of all, you're my man, 50 grand, okay, and all that. My problem is this. When we talk about LeBron James and his greatness, we always take away from the other guys that were on that Cleveland Cavaliers team. And that's my problem, okay? I'm just saying that one man doesn't get you to the finals. Yes. A whole team does. And there were players on that basketball team that deserve credit. So that's my beef with you. I mean, it's just a minor beef, and that's it.
I got you. You know, and we'll go. When we get to South Beach, we'll hang out the Four Seasons, someplace like that, get some lunch, whatever the case may be. Even though that's not where I'm staying, so don't think that's where you'll find me. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. With all due respect, when we're talking about the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, and cats like that. Now, you know I love you, bro. But, and look, Eric Snow's my man. Now an assistant at SMU, used to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. I go back a long way with these brothers. But Damon Jones, Eric Snow, Zydrunas Ilgauskas,
that one.
Anderson Varejao, and
you know what? He's pretty good.
Listen. Really good. They all right, but I'm just saying it don't compare to what we're witnessing now.
Well, wait.
So when you talk about LeBron James, forgive us. Of course it takes a team. He can't play 1-on-5. We know that. But in the grand scheme of things, you're going to have a hard time remembering his teammates from the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're not going to have a hard time remembering these boys.
Well, what I'm saying is this. If we're going to talk about his greatness, let's talk about his greatness because he was great in the 07 season, 08 season, every season that he had in Cleveland. Okay. But I'm saying if Daniel Gibson doesn't get hot against the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals, we don't make it to the finals. We don't see the San Antonio
remember a guy
Spurs.
named Mo Williams? I think he's still in the league at Portland. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Mo Williams
That's all I'm saying.
No doubt about that. But
LeBron is great. LeBron is great, and he does his thing, and I'm behind him 1,000%. I'm just saying for the Larry Hugheses, the Daniel Gibsons,
pretty good.
Those guys, Drew Gooden.
L Boogie was never the same after dealing with Larry Brown, and you know that.
Well, he was good.
He's all right.
He was good.
He's all
but
right.
I just want those guys to get some type of credit for us going to the finals.
They weren't scrubs. I didn't say you were scrubs. I just said that you're not these boys.
All I'm saying is, in your words, what you've been saying is disrespectful.
That's what you tweeted, isn't it?
That's what I tweeted.
And by the way, that guy Damon Jones, he was kind of the Bellinelli of his era.
He
wasn't
was.
he?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
You're one of the best shooters in the world.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
You can make a shot now.
Yeah,
I give you that.
I can do that.
You know, you wouldn't take too many. But when you did, you made some.
Well, I played my role. I played my role.
Well, damn it, if you're the best shooter in the world, you're supposed to transcend that role.
Well, man, let's get Mike Brown on the phone.
Where's Mike at?
Okay, so Damon, you are tight with LeBron James.
Yeah.
Give us some insight into his psyche before the game last night.
Well, one thing about LeBron, and you see when he tweets, and he always puts the hashtag strive for greatness. And last night was striving for greatness. He understood that in game one, and when you're striving for greatness, you're going to have bumps in the road. Okay? And game one was a minor bump in the road with the cramps and him not being able to finish the game. But he came back in game two, had a great mindset, and he had one of his signature games, 35 points and 10 rebounds. But to me, what makes him so special, after the game we were talking, we didn't talk about the 6 shots out of 7 that he made in the third quarter. What he said to me is that, man, did you see how I got in that paint and kicked the ball to Chris Bosh to hit the three to put us up for good? And that's what makes him so special. It's not about the scoring, the rebound, the accolades. It's about success and his teammates sharing in that.
Okay, could I make a quick point about that? Because people are saying, oh, LeBron got criticized at Indiana for making the same play to Chris Bosh. Remember, the play at Indiana was 5 seconds to go. Okay. You're down 2. I just said, you're the king, man. You're the best player in the game. Just take it strong against Hibbert, and if you have to, go stand by yourself at the foul line and make those 2 free throws to force overtime. This was 1:17 to go in the game. Whole different circumstance. Yeah, that was the right basketball play to kick it to Bosch. And by the way, Bosch was wide open. Tim Duncan stayed underneath the basket, and Bosch is on the wing at the three, okay? So let's just put something in perspective here.
Well, one thing about that, Skip, is that they were down. So it wasn't like the game was tied or Miami was up. So if he kicks to Chris Bosh doesn't make that shot, then we're here talking about why didn't LeBron take that shot? Okay, so
I wouldn't have done that.
Well, I mean,
that was the proper play.
He gets a lot of unwarranted, unnecessary criticism, and he
I
made
wonder
the right
where
play.
from.
Well, we already
social media,
led by
who? Let me get out the way. Let me move over here.
The mayor of San Antonio.
And the mayor of San Antonio. Damon Jones, you guys need to get into questions for him before we get out of here?
We're good because I know.
Are you mad at him still?
I'm not mad at him at all. I'm not mad at him at all. All I'm trying to say is that I shouldn't have had to find out when we got on the set on national television. I mean,
You're
the man
okay.
got my
Your feelings
number,
are
but it's
okay.
all right. But my feelings
you're
are right.
absolutely
You know what that means, right?
Yeah, I know.
You treat
Okay,
me to
so
lunch.
Damon Jones.
You got it.
You're paying.
Are you Heat in 5? Is that what you're predicting now?
No.
No. I have the greatest player in the world.
Yeah, but I like the Heat in 7 games.
Okay.
7
like
games?
last year. I mean,
He's 7,
if
maybe
we
6.
roll back the tape from last year, I said the same thing. The Heat in 7, and the Heat won in 7.
Okay.
So
Listen.
I see them in 7.
There we are, ladies and gentlemen, on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. Our time is coming to an end. We just want to say one thing briefly. San Antonio, on behalf of Skip and Stephen A. and myself, we really do appreciate you guys for coming out. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. It means a lot. And the way that you've embraced the mayor means a lot.
Yes, and I want to say that my friend Stephen A. Smith has been a very good sport here.
He has been.
Now it's my turn to be public enemy number 1 in Miami. And I got an idea. I might get detained at the Miami airport
Perhaps.
tonight because the mayor will send out a decree.
I'm really contemplating security holding you up at the airport. You really don't deserve to be allowed in South Beach with some of the things that you have said.
Yeah.
But, we might let you over. We might let you.
Yeah, why not? He's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so
All
much.
right.
Again, as they say, time flies when you're having fun. We miss you. We assume we will be back in a week. Thank you so much for having us. Miami, we're on our